At approximately 1000 p.m. Washington time last night, shots were fired outside the ballroom of the Washington Hilton, the same hotel where John Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan in 1981. President Trump was rushed off the stage by Secret Service. A gunman named Cole Thomas Allen, 31 years old, from California, armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives, charged through a security checkpoint and opened fire. One Secret Service officer was shot. His bulletproof vest absorbed the bullet. Trump was evacuated unheard. He held a press conference in black tie within the hour. He called the attacker a lone wolf. He said the shooter has been apprehended. He said he was in great shape. And then he said, "We have all the cards." Hours before the shooting, in the afternoon while Trump was still at the White House preparing for the Correspondents' Dinner, Iran quietly moved on the deal. Trump had canceled Witkoff and Kushner's Pakistan trip, saying Iran's offer was not good enough. Within minutes of that cancellation, Iran sent a revised proposal. Trump called it much better. Iran said nothing publicly. It moved through Pakistan's mediation channel quietly, without announcement, without a press conference, while Trump was getting ready for a gala and before a gunman tried to breach his security perimeter. Oil is at $16. Arachi is in Oman meeting Sultan Hayam on his way to Moscow, and China has not said a single word about any of it. Not about the shooting, not about Iran's revised offer, not about Hormuz, which Iran's own parliament declared is now closed by order of the leadership. Every outlet is running two separate stories: the assassination attempt and the Iran deal movement. I want to argue they are not separate. I want to argue they are one story. And the one story is not about Trump's security or Iran's offer. It is about what it means that the most consequential diplomatic movement of this war happened in the hours before America's president was evacuated at gunpoint, quietly, through a back channel, while nobody was watching because the country that was watching already knew it was going to happen. Here is the question that needs answering. How does a country bombed for 59 days, blockaded at its ports with its supreme leader killed on day one, still control the diplomatic tempo of the negotiation, still choose when to move and when to hold, still send a better offer through a back channel while America's president is preparing for a gala? What is the structural foundation of that confidence? One word: China. Not China as a military ally, not China as a public partner. China as the economic architecture that keeps Iran's endurance calculation viable regardless of what happens in any single night: the Dark Fleet, the yuan payment system, the strategic reserve, the 26 calls from Wang Yi, the knowledge gap that lets China know Iran's private floor before America hears the offer through Pakistan. All of that is what gives Iran the ability to move quietly on a deal while managing the optics of refusing it publicly. China built the system that makes that dual posture possible. And China's silence about everything that happened last night, the shooting, the deal movement, the permanent Hormuz order, is China confirming, without saying a word, that the system is still running exactly as designed. I call it the dual tempo strategy. And once you understand how Iran operates on two tempos simultaneously, the public tempo that projects strength and the private tempo that preserves flexibility, you will never again read a single Iranian public statement as the complete picture of Iran's actual position. Start with Iran's dual tempo, because understanding it changes how you read every public statement Iran has made since the ceasefire began. Iran's public tempo has been consistent since Islamabad Round 1. Iran says no direct meeting is planned. Iran says Hormuz will not return to its previous state. Iran's lawmakers say we are not people of compromise or surrender. We are people of battle until final victory. Iran's parliament declares Hormuz permanently closed by order of the leadership. Iran's military says it can carry out preemptive strikes when needed. These are the public statements. They are real, they are official, and they serve a specific domestic function, giving the IRGC's hardline faction visible evidence that the government is not capitulating to American terms. Iran's private tempo tells a different story. Within minutes of Trump canceling Wikoff's trip, Iran sent a revised offer. Not through a press conference, through Pakistan's back channel. Iran did not announce it sent a better offer. America's president is the one who disclosed it. Trump said on Truth Social that Iran sent something much better. Iran maintained public silence while moving privately. The public tempo says, battle until final victory. The private tempo says, here is a better offer. Do not tell anyone we sent it. This is not inconsistency. It is the precise dual-track diplomacy that every country under maximum pressure runs when it needs to maintain internal cohesion while preserving external flexibility. The IRGC hardline faction hears the public statements. The diplomatic channel is where Iran actually tests the space, and the two tracks are not in conflict. They are both necessary. Iran cannot tell its hardliners it is softening its position. Iran also cannot let America think it is walking away from the negotiation. The private offer sent through Pakistan while publicly saying no meeting is planned is Iran threading exactly that needle. What changed between round one of the Islamabad talks and last night is the speed of the private channel. At Islamabad round one, Iran took days of shuttle diplomacy, 21 hours of direct talks, and a 3-round negotiation to get to within inches of a deal. Last night, Iran responded to Trump's cancellation with a revised offer in minutes, not hours, minutes. That speed tells you Iran had the revised offer ready before Trump canceled. Iran was waiting to see whether Trump would cancel or proceed. When Trump canceled, Iran sent the offer that it had prepared for exactly that scenario. The dual tempo was not improvised. It was designed. China knows this. The 26 calls Wang Yi has made to Arachi throughout this conflict are not social calls. They are the channel through which Iran coordinates its dual tempo with the country that sustains its endurance. China knows what Iran's public position is from press conferences. China knows what Iran's private position is from the calls. And China's silence last night about the shooting, about the revised offer, about the permanent Hormuz order, is China confirming that it has assessed the dual tempo and concluded that the system is functioning correctly. Now, what last night's timing tells you about America's position? Trump canceled the Pakistan trip. Iran sent a better offer within minutes. Trump told the world Iran sent something much better. Trump did not send Wikoff. Trump held the correspondents' dinner. Trump was evacuated at gunpoint. Trump held a press conference in black tie and said, "We have all the cards." Read that sequence carefully. America canceled a meeting, got a better offer, did not respond to the better offer, attended a gala, survived an assassination attempt, and held a press conference claiming all the cards. All of that happened in approximately 8 hours. The phrase "we have all the cards" is the most significant thing Trump said last night. Not because it is true or false, but because of when he said it. Trump said it standing in the White House briefing room after being evacuated from a hotel ballroom at gunpoint, in a formal suit with the full weight of a third assassination attempt in 3 years behind him. While a war runs in the Gulf and Iran's parliament has declared its most strategic waterway permanently closed by order of the leadership, "We have all the cards," said at that moment. Under those circumstances, America's cards are real. 3 carrier groups in the Gulf. the most comprehensive naval blockade since the Cold War, a missile arsenal that degraded Iran's military infrastructure over 59 days of bombing, economic pressure that has taken Iran's rial down 15% and cost its economy an estimated $500 million per day. Those are real cards. But the card Iran played last night quietly through a back channel hours before Trump was evacuated from a ballroom was the card that changes the sequence. Iran sent a better offer after America walked away. That is not the move of a country with no cards. That is the move of a country that knows exactly what its cards are and chooses when to play them based on the other side's tempo. And Iran chose to play it in the afternoon before the shooting, while Trump was preparing for a gala, when the American president's attention was split between a diplomatic cancellation and a social event. The timing is either coincidence or it is Iran's reading that Trump's attention was divided enough that a quiet, private move would land better than a public one. The phrase "we have all the cards" also has a specific diplomatic meaning beyond its literal claim. When a president says "we have all the cards" in a press conference after an assassination attempt, he is telling two audiences simultaneously something different. To the American public, it is reassurance. America is strong. The war is going well. We are winning. To Iran, it is a signal. We are not rattled. The attempt on my life has not changed my calculation. We will continue. Both messages are real and both are intended. But the thing that phrase cannot change is the revised offer sitting in Pakistan's diplomatic channel. America said, "Not good enough." Iran sent something better. Trump said it was better. And then Trump held a press conference and said, "We have all the cards." Neither of those two things, Iran's better offer and Trump's all the cards, is canceled by the other. They coexist, and their coexistence is the precise description of a war where both sides have cards. Neither side has all of them, and the country that has said nothing about any of it has already calculated what each side's cards are worth. China has been reading Iran's tempo for 59 days. China knows the timing was not coincidence. Now, what China's silence actually means, because I want to be precise about what a government's choice not to speak tells you in a situation like last night. World leaders issued statements about the assassination attempt within hours. Netanyahu expressed relief that Trump and Melania were safe. Mexico's president condemned political violence. Canada's Prime Minister said political violence has no place in any democracy. Venezuela's acting president condemned the attack. These are brief, formulaic, costless statements. Every major government issues them as a matter of diplomatic protocol when a head of state faces an assassination attempt. They say nothing of analytical value. They are the diplomatic equivalent of a reflex. China has not issued one. The absence of a Chinese statement is more specific than anything China could have said. It tells you China has assessed that even a formulaic expression of concern about Trump's safety at this moment while Araghchi is touring Pakistan, Oman, and Moscow, while Iran has declared Hormuz permanently closed by leadership order while the revised offer is sitting in Pakistan's back channel. Even that formulaic statement cost China more than saying nothing. China did the calculation and concluded silence is cheaper than any version of a public response. A country that makes that calculation has something specific to protect by maintaining the ambiguity that silence preserves. What does silence protect? It protects China's ability to be the country that both sides still call. Wang Yi has called Araghchi 26 times during this conflict. Wang Yi has met with Rubio. China is positioned as the indispensable party, too consequential for America to confront, too economically necessary for Iran to alienate. Any statement China issues about Trump's safety, however brief, enters the political record and becomes something Iran has to respond to, something America has to acknowledge, something that disrupts the precise ambiguity China has maintained since day one. China's silence is not indifference. It is the active preservation of a diplomatic position that no statement could improve. Iran's deputy parliament speaker, Ali Niqsad, said it directly on Sunday. "We will not return the Strait of Hormuz to its previous state. This is an order from the leadership, not from Arachi, not from Peshkian. From the leadership, the successor supreme leader, Moaba Kameh, who has not made a public appearance since his father was killed on day one, whose health has been the subject of speculation, and whose authority is being exercised through the IRGC command structure that controls every significant decision Iran is making in this conflict. An order from the leadership is a different category of statement from a negotiating position. A negotiating position can be modified. An order from the leadership cannot be modified without a new order from the leadership, and the leadership has not issued a new order. America's central demand is that Hormuz reopen on terms America considers free navigation. Iran's deputy parliament speaker says, "Hormuz will not return to its previous state, and it is an order from the leadership." Those two positions are not a negotiating gap. They are a categorical contradiction. You cannot split the difference between an order from the leadership and America's minimum acceptable outcome on the central issue. Here is what makes the permanent order significant in the context of the dual tempo. Iran's public tempo issued the permanent order. Iran's private tempo sent a revised offer the same day. Both things are true simultaneously. The permanent order and the revised offer were both Iran's position on the same day. That combination is not confusion. It is the dual tempo strategy at its most precise, maintaining the public position that the IRGC requires while preserving the private flexibility that the diplomatic faction needs. The permanent order and the revised offer are not contradictory. They are the same dual-track operation running simultaneously. China has said nothing about the permanent order. China's energy companies have long-term LNG contracts at Ras Laffan in Qatar. Hormuz being permanently closed on Iran's terms affects the supply chains that feed those contracts. A country that was genuinely concerned about permanent Hormuz closure would say something about a parliamentary declaration that Hormuz will never reopen on its previous terms. China said nothing. That silence is China calculating that the permanent order and the revised offer are the same dual tempo, and that the revised offer is the track that matters for China's strategic positioning, not the permanent order. Let me steal the position that last night's events are actually hopeful signs rather than alarming ones. The Steelman argument runs as follows. Trump canceling the Pakistan trip and Iran sending a revised offer within minutes is not Iran running the dual tempo. It is Iran making a genuine concession under pressure. The cancellation created exactly the kind of urgency that produces movement. Trump's pressure worked. Iran blinked. The revised offer that Trump called much better is evidence that America's leverage is operating correctly. The permanent Hormuz order from the leadership is Iran's domestic political theater, a statement for internal consumption that does not bind the diplomatic process because Iran's dual-track system always includes a public position that is harder than the private one. And the assassination attempt is entirely unrelated to the Iran war. Cole Thomas Allen had no stated connection to Iran or any foreign government. Conflating a domestic security incident with a foreign policy situation is an analytical error that leads to false conclusions. On China, the Steelman argues that China's silence is not endorsement. China has been consistently pressing Iran to open Hormuz. China's commercial interests in Gulf LNG supply are genuine and direct. A permanently closed Hormuz damages China as well as everyone else. China may be staying silent precisely because any statement it makes becomes part of the negotiating dynamic in ways China cannot control. Silence is not the same as endorsement. It may be the most responsible position available to a country that wants to facilitate without being seen to direct. All of that is coherent. Trump's pressure produced movement. The permanent order may be theater. The shooting is likely unrelated. China's silence may be restraint rather than calculation. But here is what the steel man cannot account for. The revised offer that Iran sent within minutes of Trump's cancellation was sent through Pakistan, not through any direct channel with America. Iran improved its position without entering the room it had publicly refused to enter. That means the dual tempo is not just a political management tool. It is Iran's operational approach to this negotiation. Iran will move on the private channel while maintaining the public position. The permanent order and the revised offer are both real. America has to negotiate against both simultaneously. A negotiation where one side has a permanent public order from its leadership while simultaneously sending revised private offers through a mediator is a negotiation where the gap between the public position and the private flexibility is the entire territory. And America does not know how wide that territory is. China does. Trump said, "We have all the cards." Standing in a hotel basement after being evacuated from a ballroom at gunpoint, with a war running in the Gulf and Iran having moved on the deal hours earlier while maintaining its permanent Hormuz order. America has cards. The question is whether America knows what cards Iran has already played. Watch three things as the dual tempo continues. The first is whether Trump responds to Iran's revised offer in the next 48 hours. Not through a press conference, but through Pakistan. Iran moved through the back channel. America's response to the revised offer, if it exists, will also move through the back channel. Watch for any Pakistani government statement about continued active engagement with both sides. Pakistan PM Sharif has been calling both Pezeshkian and Trump throughout this process. A Sharif statement that expresses cautious optimism, the language Pakistani officials have been using when there is genuine movement in the private channel, signals that America has responded to the revised offer through Pakistan rather than through a public announcement. Silence from Pakistan on the diplomatic track means America has not yet engaged the revised offer, and the private channel is stalled. The second is whether Araghchi's Moscow stop produces anything publicly specific about the uranium question. Russia has a public offer on the table to take Iran's enriched uranium and reprocess it for nuclear power. Trump reportedly rejected the Russia offer because it gives Moscow custodianship of Iran's nuclear material without giving America the political victory of receiving it. If the Moscow stop produces a joint Russia-Iran statement that specifically references the uranium arrangement and frames it as a viable component of a broader settlement, Russia and Iran have publicly coordinated their position on the central, unresolved issue before America's negotiators have responded to the revised offer. Watch the language of any Russia-Iran readout from Moscow specifically for uranium. Generic language about regional stability means the uranium question was discussed but not resolved. Specific language about enriched material management means a position has been coordinated. The third is whether China says anything at all about Trump's assassination attempt. World leaders have been issuing statements. Netanyahu expressed relief. Mexico's Sheinbaum condemned political violence. Canada's Carney sent thoughts to those shaken. China has issued no statement. In diplomatic protocol, the assassination attempt on a sitting head of state, even an unsuccessful one, draws a standard response from every major world government. The absence of a Chinese response is itself a signal. If China issues a statement in the next 24 hours, however brief and however formulaic, it is China deciding that complete silence about Trump's safety has become more conspicuous than a minimal statement. If China remains silent about the assassination attempt while Iraqi is in Moscow coordinating with Russia, China has concluded that maintaining its strategic ambiguity about this war, including about the safety of the American president during it, serves China's positioning better than any statement would. Push back on this if you see it differently. Read the sequence. Trump cancels Pakistan trip. Iran sends revised offer within minutes. Trump attends gala. Trump evacuated at gunpoint. Trump says we have all the cards. Iran's parliament says Hormuz is permanently closed by order of the leadership. China says nothing about any of it. Read that sequence and ask what a country with all the cards looks like at the end of a night like that. And then ask what a country that moved quietly on a deal hours before its adversary was evacuated from a ballroom looks like. And then ask why the country that built the system that makes the quiet move possible, that keeps Iran's oil flowing, that knows Iran's private floor before America hears the revised offer, that has said nothing about a permanent Hormuz order or an assassination attempt or a revised deal, has not said a single word about any of it. China already has an answer to that question.